Well, my friends, the Eiffel Tower just got an unexpected taste of American civil procedure, and it tastes a little bit like a Delaware summons served with a side of snark. So picture it. We have a sitting French president, Emmanuel Macron, and his famously elegant wife, Brigitte, packing their proverbial carry-on luggage full of birth certificates, baby photos, and family scrapbooks so they can jet across the Atlantic to prove, yes, really, that Madame Macron is in fact Madame Macron. Why is this all happening? Because American commentator and provocatrix Candace Owens looked at a decades-old online hoax, sprinkled in some CIA mind control fan fiction, and told the internet, hold my microphone, I'm staking my entire career on this. So today we're unpacking this particular brand of stupid as we look at the legal, personal, and cultural fallout. And trust me, it's spicier than a fresh order of pommes frites. So how exactly did we get to this stupid place? I need to give you a quick primer. So in France, there had been a rumor that Brigitte Macron was actually born a man named Jean-Michel. And this had been lurking on blogs since at least Macron's 2017 campaign, like a bad mime refusing to leave a street corner. French courts, for their part, of course, have swatted it down at least once, but appeals revived bits of it, and conspiracy YouTubers kept whispering, shouting gender fraud into a digital void. So enter our would-be protagonist, Candace Owens, professional provocatrix, former Daily Wire host, and self-declared free speech crusader. Last year, she went to the wall, launching a full 8-part podcast series titled Becoming Brigitte, promising the sort of bombshells that would make any tabloid squeal with delight. Her thesis across this miniseries, Brigitte is secretly male. Emmanuel was groomed, and the whole relationship is one big elaborate con. Candace Owens even went so far as to have printed Man of the Year t-shirts featuring Brigitte's face, which is a little bit like the merch equivalent of yelling fire in a crowded boutique. Now, under American defamation law, of course, calling someone a man or a woman generally isn't defamatory because being male or woman isn't exactly a crime. But this issue is, of course, a little bit different. The issue here is that Candace has accused them of identity theft, forgery, incest, and possibly even statutory rape. And as you might imagine, that crosses every bright line the Supreme Court and other courts have been painting ever since New York Times versus Sullivan. The translation here is, if you're going to make such blatant, direct accusations accusing a first lady, foreign or domestic, of felonies on your YouTube channel, you better bring receipts thicker than a Mississippi phone book. Now, for their part, the Macrons did try the polite route. They sent 3 demand letters, each more exasperated than the last, landing in Owens' inbox. They went so far as to enclose birth announcements from 1953, voting records, even including those embarrassingly adorable childhood picture no teenager once framed in the living room. Candace Owens' response? A shrug, a laugh, and an on-air triple dog dare, saying, if I'm wrong, sue me. Folks, that's the kind of thing that your lawyer probably wouldn't recommend saying. And this whole result is inevitable as it is stupid. So in July of 2025, the Macrons filed a 219-page complaint in Delaware Superior Court. Why Delaware, you might be asking? Because that's where Candace's LLC lives. And when you sue a corporation, you visit its corporate home. The suit alleges 22 counts: defamation per se, false light, intentional infliction of emotional distress, the entire tort buffet. The centerpiece here, of course, as always, is actual malice, the high bar that saves late-night comedians and spares political cartoonists. But the Macrons say Owens didn't merely slip up. She was handed conclusive proof her claims were false and still doubled down at every opportunity, on Insta, on X, and on a live stream where she literally dared them to take a DNA test. Now, you might be wondering, Can a French president and his wife really win a libel suit in red, white, and blue territory? The answer, of course, as always, is a firm maybe, but leaning to yes. American juries run the gamut, from defamation judgments to the size of national budgets to sorry, but free speech means never having to say you're sorry. Remember the Sandy Hook verdicts that put Alex Jones in nine-figure trouble? Juries and judges do not love defendants who profit from family pain, especially when lies keep flowing after a cease and desist. The Macrons are betting that Owens will land in the same unlovable zone, and the signs are pointing in that direction. If the discovery shows that she privately admitted it was bunk, well, that would be game over, faster than you can say, voir dire. But of course, there is another layer, the optics of the situation. Here we have a world leader and their wife suing a right-wing American pundit. Owens camp, for its part, insists this is European tyranny invading the First Amendment, ironically ignoring that Macron is consenting to American jurisdiction by this lawsuit rather than hiding behind any sort of sovereign immunity claims and stricter French libel laws. If he wanted the easy win, he could have filed judgment in Paris and collected a judgment faster than baguette goes stale, given the relative strength of French laws on this domain compared to American. Instead, he decided to come to the heavyweight ring of free speech, telling a potential jury, judge me by your own standards. That, of course, is gutsy, and it cuts across Owens' narrative that she is being gagged by some foreign censor. Legally, of course, Owens faces a bit of dilemma. She could settle and admit defeat. She could fight and risk a trial that could dig up every private email, text, and back-channel message about this complaint. Presumably, these texts and emails might include messages from producers or other people that tell her to back off, yet she persists anyway, and in the worst case, might express her own private doubts. Imagine, for example, an opposing counsel reading her group chat aloud in open court. Content creators fear few things more, and rightly so. Yet, of course, Candace Owens thrives on attention, and she's treating the lawsuit like a fresh season of reality TV. New cliffhangers, fresh merch, skyrocketing views. She's even speculated on air that Macron will fake Brigitte's death to dodge discovery, which may be the first time that staging your own funeral has been floated as a potential litigation strategy. That sound that you're probably hearing right about now is every defamation lawyer facepalming in unison over this pile of stupid. So let's talk strategy, such as it is, both legal and narrative. The Macrons have positioned themselves as reluctant plaintiffs defending their own dignity before a potentially hostile court with strong First Amendment protections, unlike their native France. Their own evidence lists like a genealogy documentary, baptism records, school photos, and doctor reports. Owens' evidence list so far as well, a YouTube playlist featuring a self-proclaimed spiritual medium, that's always a really good start, and a blogger with a fact-checking rigor of a magic 8-ball. And the jury is unlikely to miss this contrast. Meanwhile, Owens' defense will likely argue somehow she had a sincere belief in the rumors, a belief so earnest she sold t-shirts about it. But sincerity is a bit hard to sustain as a legal theory when you've publicly mocked hard proof to the contrary. Culturally, this clash pits two big conservative talking points against each other. On the one hand, of course, conservatives favor free speech, that belief that even ludicrous ideas deserve oxygen. On the other hand, conservatives also respect truth and accountability. Many on the right wing find themselves a bit grimacing and not particularly rallying. Even stalwart outlets like the Washington Examiner published op-eds calling Owens' crusade mind-rotting nonsense. When your usual cheerleaders are stepping away from the pom-poms, you should be really asking why. Yet conservatives, as always, worry about potential precedent. Could this open the door for every thin-skinned politician abroad to bully American commentators? While that is a potential fear, I think an unrealistic one. Defamation law hasn't exactly turned the United States into a speech desert, and defamation law has been part of the First Amendment since it existed. The bar, of course, remains sky high, particularly after New York Times versus Sullivan. and Macron has a high bar to clear. What his lawsuit might do is raise the social costs, if not legal costs, of spreading easily debunked slander. In other words, it could potentially nudge the Overton window from anything goes back to a scandal, sure, just have the facts. As has been said by other conservative commentators, facts don't care about your feelings. Let's zoom out to the bigger implication. Online disinformation is, of course, cheap, and lawsuits are expensive. Most victims can't match a millionaire pundit's war chest, let alone fly to another continent to testify. But every so often, a target with means says enough, and the courtroom spotlights the cost of conspiracy clout chasing. Think cases like Dominion versus Fox News, or Sandy Hook versus Alex Jones, civil judgments that echo louder than 1,000 fact checks. Macron versus Owens seems likely to join that deterrent club, reminding influencer that there are real-world implications to spreading lies, and the marketplace of ideas has returns and liabilities. So where does this all leave us? In the near term, Delaware's docket will hum as lawyers wrangle over jurisdictional motions, discovery deadlines, and possibly forensic deep dives into Candace's hard drives. As for jurisdictional issues, that seems settled. She's being sued in her corporate form, and of course, the corporation lives in Delaware. Owens will presumably attempt to continue selling the narrative that she's Joan of Arc with a blue Yeti mic. The Macrons are likely to keep calm and lawyer on, hoping that ultimately a jury will see Malice where Owens sees monetization. Meanwhile, of course, the internet will meme itself silly. Expect photoshops of Brigitte dunking basketballs over Candace next to a caption, "Still a woman." So what should we take away from this? If you're in the content business, heck, if you're in the cocktail party business, facts do still matter. You can, of course, still question leaders, criticize policy, and laugh at gaffes, all without inventing a sci-fi backstory starring the CIA and gender conspiracies. The First Amendment does give you a microphone, but that microphone comes with responsibility. Defamation law reminds you not to weaponize it like a medieval catapult. Of course, I'm never rooting for censorship. Lord knows I've defended unpopular speech from both sides of the aisle on this channel. But free speech isn't and has never been a hall pass for libel. Libel has been baked into the First Amendment from the beginning. If Candace Owens truly believes her claims, she has ample time to investigate them responsibly. She apparently chose spectacle over substance, and the legal system, as always, is calling her bluff. And honestly, there is a silver lining for even the most hardcore First Amendment fan. This case reaffirms that our libel standards, while exacting, do actually work. Either the Macrons will fail to meet the bar, proving yet again how robust American speech protections are, or they'll succeed, proving that even famous commentators can't dodge accountability when they knowingly peddle malicious lies. That's a win-win for the First Amendment and for any honest debate. All right, folks, that's the dossier on the Franco-American legal tango currently pirouetting throughout Wilmington. If you've enjoyed this breakdown, if you value that sharp legal analysis served with a dash of sarcasm, make sure to smash that like button, throttle the notification bell, and send this video to one friend who still thinks YouTube community guidelines are bedtime suggestions. And remember, the law is open book, the internet is forever, and facts, however unfashionable, are undefeated. Until next time, I've been Uncivil Law, and remember to keep it uncivil out there. Peace.